When God made you my father, He knew what I need. When He picked you from the others, He could already see that you would be my hero and everything I wanna be. When God made you my father, He was being good to me. I come to you with all my secrets, and you never ever judge. And when I'm falling in my weakness, you give me strength to stand back up. No amount of lies could separate us. No place where I don't feel yours. You say I'm a gift that heaven gave you, but Daddy, I'm a lucky one. 'Cause when God made you my father, He knew what I need. When He picked you from the others, He could already see that you would be my hero and everything I wanna be. When God made you my father, He was being good to me. You'll always be my father. No one could replace you. There will never be another that could ever fill your shoes. 'Cause Daddy, you're my hero and everything I wanna be. When God made you my father, He was being good to me. Yeah, He was being good to me.
Well, today's a special day. It's Father's Day. All right, guys, we can't hold it up for Mother's Day. There's 3 times that people are going to come to
When
church.
my way groweth drear, precious Lord, linger near.
Guys, we're left out. No, we're not. Anyway, who's going to do
Get the boys.
and they can,
Dawson,
if
Grayson.
y'all don't mind, boys, y'all come up and
Come here. Come here. Now come up here. Yay. Give one of these to each dad.
it's such a blessing.
Give one to each dad. Stand up. I'm gonna stand up so you know who's the daddy. All the dads stand up. You can give one. Give all the dads. Don't get one behind you. Yeah, there's one behind you. Just get all of them. Yeah. I want them to know.
Since we got extras, why not just give the future dads one too?
Yeah.
Is that okay with you, Michelle?
Hey, can we get all the dads up there so I can take a quick picture of
All right, all you dads, come on up.
Hey,
They'll make it
hey,
easier for you.
look, give that to Kristen. Right here with Alyssa, right there with Alyssa.
It's okay, Kristen, you can stand up.
Surprise. She said, "You surprise."
Surprise.
He is a dad.
Nobody got it.
We're trying to tell you something.
Yeah, there we go.
We need to put our bulletin board up over there.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Happy Father's Day.
You did a good job, those are cute.
Children children may be dismissed with Children's Church. No, they look forward to that.
You better. We just want to give you something, Brandon.
Just count for your father and mother.
Which one we could work? Come on, boy.
Yesterday afternoon, or yesterday at lunchtime, the Emmanuel Baptist Church we had a tea party. And look at our page and you'll see some pictures. And if you were not there, you missed a great time. And it was so beautiful. A lot of work went into it. And also, Kathy wants to thank everyone that helped and came. They had a good message from the speaker and got you ladies out to dress up a little bit. Yeah, and y'all look so pretty. So pretty. So the next event, make sure you plan to come. Sometimes you have to put some things off and make church a priority, which should be every time. Today title of my message is Godly Fathers. Godly Fathers. And our open scripture will be in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 1 through 3. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 1 through 3. And you know I like to start out with something funny. This dad decided that he was going to teach Sunday school. And the first lesson that he was going to teach was about Noah's Ark. And so he decided that he would describe an animal that was on the ark, and the kids would have to figure out what it was. So the very first one he did, he told the kids that, hey, I got a bushy tail, I like to climb trees, and I love to eat acorns. And the kids just looked at him with a blank face. What else can I say? And then he said, I can be brown, red, and black, and I have a long bushy tail. Kids just look black. And he didn't know what else to say or what else to do. And he said, well, I got 2 big front teeth and 2 bottom teeth. And the kids looked black. And then he looked at her, don't you know what that is? And she said, well, I know you want us to say Jesus, but it sounds like a squirrel. Our kids. But I want to tell you something about Father's Day. Father's Day came about from a very tragic coal mining accident. This woman lost her dad, and she said, well, I'm going to do all I can do to honor the people that died in this coal mining accident up in Virginia. But in 1966, President Lyndon B. Johnson issued the first presidential proclamation on having and honoring fathers. And it would be celebrated the 3rd Sunday of June. 6 years later, Richard Nixon signed it into law, the day of the 3rd Sunday in June. So it's not like this all over the world. It's in the U.S. This is a holiday. But today we're talking about godly fathers. I miss my father today. I had a great father that loved me dearly. He provided for me well. It wasn't that I wanted a lot, but I had everything I needed. I had plenty of food to eat. I had clothes on my back, and I had a loving relationship with my mother and father and my siblings. He taught me how to treat people. He taught me how to love other people. And he taught me about being an electrician. He taught me about being a mechanic. He taught me about being a farmer. He taught me about just how to work and do good and work smart too. He did his job. And this is one thing that I'm morally proud of than anything else that he taught me, is that he made sure I was in church. Fathers, today we are charged through God to have our families, to be that leader. It says he sets it up himself for the husband to be the leader, to be over the wife, and to be the leader of the family, be the protector, and teach his family about him. This is biblical. It's not nothing I'm making up. And we need more men to stand up. And some stand up to their wives and let them know, hey, but men, you have got to do that. You got to be willing. You got to be that person that God has designed you to be. You got to have your children in church on Sunday. You got to have your children in church when the doors are open. You got to invite people to come to church, to bring them. That's our job. That's what we're to do too. Every one of us here today should be inviting people to come to church. Like I said, one of the best things that he ever did, that my dad did for us, was make sure there was no question about where I will be on Sunday unless I was sick or in the hospital. I would be in church. And I grew up in church not far from here, over near Texasville, called Corinth Baptist Church, where in 1968, I gave my life to the Lord. Yeah, way back then. I was 7 years old. I remember that day today, and then later on we moved to Prospect Baptist Church. I was always in church. And we always went to gospel singings, where I fell in love with gospel quartet singing. We were always in church. There was no doubt. I did not have to ask him, are we going to church? He was going to church. The Bible tells us that we are to honor our mothers, our fathers and our mothers, both. But should we honor our fathers or our mothers that treat us wrong, that do wrong to us? Should we still honor them? How can we honor somebody that does something so terrible to us? But the answer to that biblically is yes. You are still to honor your mother and father. And then, if they're not that same person and you are, guess what? You are that one to show them the love of God. Yes, it belongs to you now. But as we look, I want us to let you know that to honor the father and mother is a commandment. God gives Moses this commandment to honor thy father and mother. May your days be long. Now, I kind of wondered about that because I heard several mamas say, I brought you in this world, I take you out. I wonder, if that's what he's talking about. Well, that's not what he's talking about. This is the only commandment that God gives a promise with. To honor your father and mother so that your days may be long. He's saying when you honor this, that your days, your life will be longer on the land, your blessings will be better. That's what he's telling us. That's such a hard subject to say, I'm going to forgive somebody's hurt. But God said so. You say not, He says so. You're going against God. That's it. It's just the truth. But I want to go back. I want to go to this here before we go back to Ephesians. Matthew chapter 18, verse 21. You talk about being forgiven. As Peter is asking God, if he says, how oft should my brother sin against me and I forgive him? Till 7 times? Undoubtedly they have talked about this before. Or they have discussed it among themselves about how many times. But Jesus answers him with this question, with the question that he committed to him. He said, I say not unto thee until 7 times, but until 70 times 7. That equals out to like 490 times. A person is not going to hurt you more than 490 times in your lifetime. It's over 490 times. Do you think someone can hurt you that many times? The Apostle Paul tells us too in Ephesians 4, verse 31, let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. I'm sorry, y'all. I got y'all started on the wrong verse. I started on one verse. But in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 31, 32. So, what is this clamor? What is this malice that he is talking about here in this scripture? Let all bitterness and wrath. That's pretty explanatory. And anger and clamor. Clamor is what he's talking about here, is a noisy shouting, raising your voice at someone. That is so disrespectful. That kind of, wouldn't that upset you if somebody raised their voice up at you? That'll start something else for me. Don't give me two. and shouting someone is so disrespectful. And the malice is the resentment or the revenge towards someone. What does it say? Once again, let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. In verse 32 it says, and ye be kind to one another. Kind to one another. Tender-hearted and forgiving one another, even as God. Here's the thing right here. You want to hold this. You want to hold it in your heart. You want to be able to be angry at somebody, and you want to hold it there because you think that you have that right. And then when you read this right here, for forgiving one another, even as God has forgiven you for Christ's sake. Jesus, for Christ's sake. Jesus is one that was on that cross. Jesus was one that was beaten. Beyond recognition, it says. He was beaten so. But yet, while he hung on that cross, he said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Now, if somebody's hurting you, what are you going to say? What are you going to say? We may not like it. We ain't got to forget it. We don't have to forget it. But God says that we are to forgive. We should be forgiven for what Jesus did upon the cross for us as children of God. And we have some men that are great fathers. We have some men that are not great fathers. We have some men that don't need to be fathers. But, ladies, if you have a husband that is loving, that is caring, that accepts you and your children, and he teaches and he supports, you have a good thing. Likewise, husbands. If you have a wife that accepts your children, I'm talking about children that you already had, like, you know, we're going to see this situation with Jesus. But anyway, if wives, if you have a husband that has children, you are likewise to accept his children as your own. So you don't have to be a biological donor to be a good father. You don't have to have been the biological donor for that child with your wife to love that child as a father. I know some that treat their stepchildren a lot better than their own biological father does. There are many that are out there that they call deadbeat dads. But we should pray for them. Some of these are better to their stepchildren, as I said, than fathers of their own. But wives, remember this, and husbands, remember this. Be loving to one another. Be caring for one another. Work together. Be slow to anger. Be slow to anger with one another, each other, because you have your children watching you. But I want to tell you something about a father in the Bible that is not mentioned very much of. And he had a tremendous job. His position was tremendous in what he was doing, raising up someone else's child. You know what I'm talking about? I'm talking about Joseph, the earthly father of Jesus. But this father, he had to take so much to be a father to this child, this unique situation that he was in, that he was betrothed to a woman named Mary, or a young girl named Mary, which is, they say probably there was 6 years apart in between them, that he takes and the families come together, betroth them, and they're married by Jewish customs. They're married. It's just, they have to wait at least a year to consummate that marriage. And the father that I'm talking about, as I just said, Joseph, the father, the earthly father of Jesus. Joseph was a simple man, an honest man, a just man that lived in Nazareth. But he came from Bethlehem. He was, by adoption, the lineage of David, but Mary was also the lineage of David. That was prophesied in the Bible. But this just man was betrothed to Mary, and you know, the Jewish customs, you know, what they had, he had to, the family had to pay Mary's family a mohar, a dowry, that they had to pay, because they were taking their daughter, their source of income too, for her work and all. The family had to pay Mary's family, and then Joseph had to pay Mary a matan. It was a dowry that he paid to her for in case he called it off, he divorced her, and that once after that she couldn't remarry, and then she would be left with no one to tend for her or to support her. But anyway, they come together. And then, as the story tells you that the angel came to Mary and told her that you are miraculously pregnant with the Son of God. And you shall call his name Jesus. And then when all this happened, you look at this. Here they are, Mary is betrothed to Joseph. And they have not come together. She is a virgin and miraculously pregnant by God. And here they are in a betrothal or a contract of marriage, and she's pregnant. Now, in Deuteronomy, it tells you the customs of the Jewish people that she is to be taken out to the front gate and stoned to death. And then also, sometimes it would have been Joseph too, carried out to the front gate and stoned to death. That was their customs in that day. But we see that Joseph, he loved Mary. He didn't want to publicly shame her. He didn't want to completely dissolve it. He thought about it. But he waited. And then the angel of the Lord appeared to him and told him, take it. That's right. Let's turn to Ephesians now, chapter 6, verse 1. Matthew. I'll get it right, y'all. I got so much that I want to share with you. Matthew chapter 18. We got the real stuff. We'll go back to that. I want us to look at Luke chapter 2, verse 1 through 7. That's it. Luke chapter 2, verse 1 through 7. We'll have a Bible drill today. Luke chapter 2, and we'll start from verse 1 through 7. And it came to pass in those days that there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be taxed. And this taxing was first made when Cyrenius was governor of Syria. And all went to be taxed, every one into his own city. And Joseph also went up from Galilee out of the city of Nazareth into Judea, into the city of David, which that is Bethlehem. Because he was the house and lineage of David, to be taxed with Mary, his spouse wife, being great with child. And so it was that while they were there, these days accomplished that she should be delivered. And she brought forth her firstborn son, and wrapped him in swaddling clothes, and laid him in a manger, because there was no room for them in the inn. There's so much controversy on this last sentence about there was no room for them in the inn. Here you have a decree that's been made, and Joseph is from Bethlehem, and they've got to go back to be censored and to pay this tax. And she's walked. It's probably 4 days' journey. She has rode this donkey the whole time, and she's about done. Well, they get there, and what usually happens in this time is that since Joseph is from Bethlehem originally, he has family there. And what they usually do is what they have inside their home is a guest room. They call it Hatalima. It's where guests stay. But since people were already there, the family, and plus the fact that Mary was fixing to give birth to a child, made her unclean. They didn't want to be around that. So, I'm sure that all the ends were full up, and it made that comment, but they would have stayed with family. So undoubtedly they stayed in the bottom of a house where they kept their goats, their milking goats, and their donkey if they had one. And if you had a donkey, you was considered riding high class. But there's where a manger was, where they fed hay. But why wasn't Jesus born in a nice room or somewhere like that? It just wasn't to be. He didn't want to be better than no one else. When you come and you're born and you lay into a dirty manger with hay and dust and animals and feces and all that in the bottom of the house, you can't say that you come here with a silver spoon in your mouth. But here we have Joseph, this father here that has come all this way, taken her, and the angel of the Lord had told him then, he said, hey, flee, go to Egypt until we tell you to come out of Egypt. He takes her and the baby and they go to Egypt and they stay in Egypt because Herod was trying to kill Jesus. And all this time, all through his time, that Joseph was protecting him. He was providing for him. Joseph was a carpenter called a tecton. That's what they call a carpenter, a tecton. And usually if he was a carpenter, he was a stonemason too. And I'm sure that Jesus learned about carpentry with Joseph. What a job that he had to rear the Son of God. How would you like that responsibility today? If it were to be. To be a living example. Joseph was a righteous man. He was in the Jewish religion. He honored the Jewish customs and the law and the sacrificial laws that was put on them. He did all that he was supposed to do. And he brought up Jesus as a child and provided for him, taught him, protected him, supported him. As the Bible says that he grew up and he become strong, he become full of wisdom, he come through favor of God and favor of man. I believe Matthew tells us that we know that Jesus was the son of a carpenter because it says in the Bible, when they said, who is that? Talking about Jesus. Is that not him from Nazareth, the son of a carpenter? A carpenter, a tecton was a nice job, a carpenter. It wasn't nothing that got you rich. It was nothing really extravagant job. But that's what Joseph was. He was just a carpenter. That someone that God found favor in to raise his son. Joseph gives us a good example. What did Joseph do? He taught Jesus a work ethic, I'm sure, because he helped him. He grew up learning to be a carpenter because that was the customary thing that your family did what you did. That's how you learn, one from another, on-the-job training. He also protected him. And through the foresight of God and the angels that came to him and told him when to leave and when to go. And even through, as Jesus came up into his older age and started his ministry, he just stayed a step ahead of the Pharisees until that one night in the Garden of Gethsemane, where he knew. Remember that saying, my hour has come? He knew. Fathers, today I want to tell you, those that are watching by YouTube and Facebook and here at church, you are charged to be the protector, the provider, the teacher, the love, the be loving to your children, to your child. We are charged with that. We're charged with making sure that our little ones are taught about God. One day, or not, or whatever it might be, you will answer for what you didn't do. We will answer for what we didn't do as individuals. You don't have to be a father to teach and lead and guide a child. But one day, fathers will have to answer for what we did, for how we prioritize God in our children's lives. When we put God first in our lives, we put Him first in our lives, things work for the good. Things work for the good. And blessings are abundant. Joseph, God found favor in him to raise his son, his only begotten son, and then he, as I said, he provided, he loved, he taught, protected Jesus. So we have our Savior. What are you doing today? How are you raising your children? What do your children look up and see in you? Do they see a father that is respected, that loves others, that is forgiving also? That's one thing I've learned. I've learned hard about forgiving. That's what I have to do. I've done what God has told me to do that. I've forgiven all that has hurt me. Well, you say that, I don't know if I can do that. Well, I pray that you can learn to do that, because God has instructed us in His Word. Can you do that? It was hard for me, because I have also been hurt very bad. It was so hard. But I'll tell you something. What a veil that was lifted off of me when I had finally said, Lord, I forgive all those that have trespassed against me. But I pray that the ones that I've trespassed against forgive me. You can't control their forgiveness. You cannot control their forgiveness. If you try to control their forgiveness, it's going to harden your heart. Only thing that you can do is ask forgiveness of your trespasses. And also, I always say, Father, if I hurt someone, forgive me for that. May not be that. But, fathers, as we stand, fathers, I want you to really understand that. And then, Father,